Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before we rank each episode against each other. Today's episode is One Punch Man, Season 1, Episode 5, The Ultimate Master. The episode in a nutshell is just a brief reminder of what happened within this episode. So this episode is somewhat like a setup episode. We basically have Saitama and Genos arriving for the hero test. We see a board meeting, including a couple of association members who recur quite frequently, Jinzurin and Busho. And they're basically talking about the turnout. They have 6 different testing sites, over 11,000 testees coming to try to become heroes. And that, of course, again, includes Saitama and Genos. They start with the physical test, which, of course, Saitama blows all of them out of the water and even smashes records from past heroes, earning absolute perfect on his scores. However, there's also a written portion which Saitama does not do very well on. So while Genos gets perfect on both sides and becomes an S-class hero right away, Saitama is basically an exception where, because his physical scores were so impressive, he sneaked by at 71 points to become a C-class hero, which you needed 70 to pass. And then they go to have a orientation to welcome them to the Hero Association, which is hosted by Snek, who is a ranked 38th and an A rank hero, who's a bit upset about their disrespect and not paying attention during his welcome seminar lecture. And so he then goes and complains to Jinzurin, who basically tells him, Genos already outranks you. And Saitama, this is where we learn that the only reason he's a C-class is because his test scores were bad, but his physical scores blew everything out of the water and broke every record on every test that he took. So it's only a matter of time, likely, until he outranks Snek as well. And so Snek gets upset about this. So he goes and confronts Saitama, calling it like rookie crushing. And he's going to stop his progress right here so that you can't outrank me someday. But he's easily defeated. Then we have Genos reuniting with Saitama to basically have a practice bout. Now that he's officially his disciple, because that's what Saitama said, if he takes the Hero Association registration with them and they both make it, then he'll take him as his disciple officially. And he ends up defeating Genos very easily, surprising Genos with his strength and making Genos feel like he probably will never be able to actually get close to Saitama. But they then decide to go to eat udon noodles, and Saitama, to try to make Genos feel better, challenges him to another bout, this time to try to eat one of the giant food challenges. Saitama fails at this, Genos succeeds, now they have a win each, congrats. While they're at the udon place, Amai Mask, who is the #1 ranking A rank, takes Genos outside and basically lets him know his policy and welcomes him to being an S-class. Before then, Genos returns inside, and then as they leave the noodle place, Genos says he'll be back and leaves. And then we get the post-credit scene where Genos arrives with a large knapsack with all of his stuff and asks Saitama if he can live there. And at first, Saitama says no, then he puts down a large pile of money, and Saitama asks him if he's brought his toothbrush, thus meaning that he has moved in. So now that we have been reminded about what happened in the episode, it's time to rank the episode on our mostly objective ranking, followed by the personal ranking. So first on our mostly objective rank values, we have multi-season supporting character introductions. And we have four of them, which is Jinzurin and Busho, who are the Hero Association members. They're apparently on the board. They showed up to investigate the destruction of the House of Evolution, and they also are part of the interviews for Genos's S-Class certification. And so they seem to have a multi-purpose role within the association and have been recurring and continue to be recurring, but do have more of like a background role. And then we have Snek, who is one of the feature heroes of the series, who does also recur throughout the series at various points in time. And then we have Amai Mask, who also appears in multiple episodes throughout the series, but again takes more of a background role and isn't one of the actual main fighters. And because so many of them are multi-season supporting characters, but also don't take a very large role in any of the episodes they appear in and are more background characters that just happen to recur over the course of seasons, I did decide to kind of lump them all into one set of 3 points. Then we have our multi-season main character development, which does apply equally to Genos and Saitama, and that is, of course, the fact that Genos has moved in with Saitama at the end of the episode in the post-credit scene, and that's worth 4 points, which brings us up to 7 so far. And then bringing us all the way to 11, we have the multi-season main character growth, and this is seen in Genos's fight against Saitama. It's a mock battle, but Genos has upgraded his gear, and he now is able to combine his arms into like a gigantic cannon type laser fire shooter. Anyways, the point is he has some new attacks because he's upgraded his specs. And that, as it brings us to 11, does make this yet another 10 out of 10 episode. And I know that there have been a lot of 10 out of 10 episodes, and that's similar to what we ran into with Bleach as well, where there's so many characters introduced in each episode that it just keeps pushing it over the 10. But the mostly objective rank values are set in stone, and they don't have an emotional requirement, so it is again 10 out of 10, bringing our series rank or season ranking so far on the mostly objective ranking to in first, The Strongest Man, The Lone Cyborg, The Modern Ninja. This episode comes in fourth, The Ultimate Master, and it's fourth because on the objective list, when more than one episode has the same ranking, it's ranked in the air order of the episode. And then in fifth, we have The Obsessive Scientist. Now coming to my personal ranking. So I really enjoy this episode, mostly because, and you may find this as I rank and rewatch and rank many series, but I always like the testing, tournament, exam type arcs or episodes in anime. I don't know why, but I always find them the most interesting, and this one was no different. I also liked the little mock battle between Saitama and Genos and how to make Genos feel better. Saitama then invites him to get noodles. I did kind of at first, when Saitama got a C ranking, I was like, I thought that was an odd choice because he blew all the physical tests out of the water. And ultimately, for a hero, I don't necessarily think intelligence is required unless you're physically lacking. But if you have the ability to just, well, one punch all the opponents and win, I don't really think brains are important. And given that he beat every single physical record that they had, which even Genos' specs didn't do, I do feel like they should have given him a higher ranking. Like, I understand why they have both tests, because they're testing to find, heroes and they want to weed out those who are not strong in either, like in both of those things. But at the same time, if someone supremely excels in one over the other, as long as they're capable of doing the job of a hero, that is to say, beating the villains and protecting the people, I feel like he should have gotten higher ranking, but I understand the comedic value of the master being so much lower ranked than the disciple. I think that's actually fun, and like I said, one of the main things about the series is that Genos gets all the accolades and attention, and he does all the epic entertainment value fights, and he loses epically, and then Saitama just comes in at the end and goes, one punch, done. And that's part of the comedy of it. So I get why that choice was made. I just think that if someone was being reasonable, they would have allowed Saitama to maybe go into at least D or B. No, not D, that's lower. Like B rank because of his physical prowess rather than C rank because Mumin Rider is C rank and he was very, very weak. So putting Saitama in the same class as that just because he's not book smart seems a bit of an odd choice, but that was my little rant. Doesn't mean I didn't love the episode. But yeah, I like their little fight and the fact that Genos has like an awakening to how amazing Saitama is and has acknowledged that even Saitama doesn't understand the secret behind his own strength, which is why he wants to be close to observe him to see if he can figure it out so that he can become stronger as well. I don't really like a Mai Mask as a character. I mean, they try to keep him cryptic, but he just comes off as looking down from a high horse at everyone. He considers himself the gatekeeper to the S rank, doesn't want to let anyone through, and puts his looks on a high pedestal. I'm sure he's strong. To have made it to that rank, he has to be strong, but it's just not something that we typically like will actually see. Oh, we also learned that the association was only made 3 years before, and it was made after a passerby saved a child of a billionaire. And then when we see the photo of the billionaire on the little pamphlet they're reading, he has a very large chin. And it's not explicitly said, but I'm wondering if that wasn't Saitama saving the kid with the really big chin, because he was a passerby, saved the kid. And the man in the picture, as the founder, has a really big chin, and the kid had a really big chin. And I feel like a chin like that would probably be genetic. But again, that's speculation as it wasn't specifically stated in the episode, but I found that interesting. And I definitely like that they've moved in together and that Saitama has this big wad of cash now because I don't know if he actually has a job or not. Like, I know back in the day when he saved the big chinned kid, he was trying and failing to find a job. Then he became a hero as a hobby, but I've never seen him actually have a job, and it's not really stated if he has a real job. Now he's registered as a hero, so he should get paid by the association when he defeats the monsters, and so hopefully that can then be his job. But he was very easily swayed by that stack of money. Either way, just from the emotional entertainment value of the episode, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10, and there wasn't really anything negative that happened in the episode that would bring the score down. And so that brings our season ranking so far to personal ranking of. I don't think that sentence. I think that sentence was missing words to make sense grammatically, but our season rankings so far on our personal ranking are as follows. In first, this episode, The Ultimate Master. I just really enjoyed it, just a personal preference. Second, The Obsessive Scientist. Third, The Strongest Man. Fourth, The Lone Cyborg. And then in fifth so far, we have The Modern Ninja. Bringing us now to our series ranking so far, which is where we're ranking each of the seasons against each other. And season 1 so far has a score of 48 out of 120 on the mostly objective ranking, but the personal ranking currently has a score of 40 out of 120. And with that, we've now rewatched and ranked One Punch Man Season 1, Episode 5, The Ultimate Master. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.